Oh man, day is over. Whew, what a long day. One of the best things commuting is that you can start the day, end the day right. Let's find that neutral. Where are you? Come on. There you are. Whew. Sounds nasty. I think we're just gonna go for an old-fashioned vlog, you know? I think right around now is about time when people are coming back to the riding season or just starting out their riding season. And the grounds are good to go for a ride as long as you have the right gear. And if you don't know what to wear or what to look out for to ride in colder conditions, because it is still pretty cold, you should watch my video on how to ride in cold climates. Now, luckily for me, I actually get a chance to ride all year long. Now, albeit like it's not all the time, because it does snow where I live here and it gets pretty slushy or rains a little too hard. I do have the luxury of choice of not to ride, but anytime it is sunny, dry, or at least favorable to ride, I do end up trying to utilize my insurance, which is insured all year long, and I try to get out as much as possible so that every ride gets cheaper and cheaper. So the topic of discussion, I think we just landed on it, is whether it's worth it for those who live in areas that can ride all year long to insure your bike all year long. And I'll share you some of my financials so that you can get a better idea of how cost effective or not effective it is. So for me, I pay about $120 Canadian a month to insure my 2020 Iron 883. And to some of you, that might sound like a lot. And for those from Ontario, probably think that's pretty cheap. It really depends on where you're coming from. Regardless, I pay $120 a month to ride this bad boy. And it'll only get cheaper year by year as I gain more experience on the two wheels. And I believe this year is the year that I can get private insurance rather than going with what the government's giving out. And for those who don't know, in British Columbia, which is the province that I live in, Canada, the insurance company is run by the government of British Columbia, which, I don't know, seems a little sketch. Now, you can always opt to get private insurance, which should be cheaper, but a lot of the private companies in my area will not accept new riders unless you have at least 3 years of riding experience, which is, for me, I will hit that milestone at the end of this riding season. So I'm pretty excited to see how much I save on that. But regardless, because I started out riding in late September and picked up my first motorcycle, which is a 2020 Iron 83 in October, I did not really have an option to do like 1 month insurance because they didn't really give month-to-month insurance without giving you a license plate. So they kind of forced me to get a year-round motorcycle insurance so I can get myself a plate, and then the instruction was that I can cancel after a month of riding before the winter starts and then start it up again, I guess March time frame, so I don't have to pay for the 3-4 months of wet and cold season. The only fallback was I would have to repay a $50 activation fee when I re-sign up in March. So given that like I pay $120 a month, it would have been like half of that month that I would just give to the insurance, which to me, I don't know. I'd rather keep it all year long because I also wanted to practice riding my motorcycle, because at the time I just finished my course. I did not really get a good confidence on whether or not I can ride this bike. The other option was for me to just not insure the bike at all and keep it in storage until the new season began in 2021 and then pay the 8-month insurance fee. But either way, I didn't want to lose my knowledge that I just learned from my riding, so I decided to do the full year. And man, that was a really good year because it wasn't that wet or cold. Got to ride a lot in December, January, February. Definitely got my money's worth in terms of paying the monthly insurance bill. Just gotta make sure this guy doesn't rear end me. Oh, that was close. Some people you gotta watch out for, especially during rush hour when they are tired, anxious, just want to get home, and impatient. And those are the people who end up rear ending you. And yeah, I don't really trust this van behind me. Now, the year 2, I actually did not ride as much as I wanted to during the winter time frame. So again, December, January, February, and that's because I was traveling with my family and stuff like that. So it wasn't all of the weather's fault, but the conditions weren't as favorable as the year before, and I definitely got less ride in. I believe in the month of January, I only got to ride once, and that meant that ride costed $120 for me to take, because if I didn't insure it, I would have saved that $120 minus the $50 activation reservation fee later on. So for going into year 3 or season 3, like right now, I actually contemplated back in October when I had to renew this insurance on whether or not if I want to continue to pay 3 or 4 extra months of winter riding, just so I can get 1 or 2 rides in for those months. But in the end, as you can tell, I decided to go with the whole year plan once again and see how this year fares out. And yeah, I mean, in the past 8 weeks or so, I did only end up riding like a handful amount of times. I think probably like 8 times in total. And those are the rides I really needed, you know? Like, we talk about wind therapy and how riding a motorcycle is very therapeutic for the mind and the heart, and I honestly believe that, because the times that I actually got out on the 2 wheels, even though it was like a 20-30 minute ride, fuck, it felt so good. I came back refreshed, my mind was clear, my body felt good, and it was just a delightful moment. And honestly, even that experience alone, I would pay that money, you know, like the $120. Now, obviously $120 is a lot of money. It's not that easy to come by, especially now. But if you compound more rides through that month, let's say you go out 3-4 times, then every time or each time you go out, it gets cheaper and cheaper. Yeah, so for me, like personally, I think I will continue to insure my motorcycle all year long, just for those instances where you get a winter that is relatively calm, favorable conditions for riding, and you get more rides in. Because like I said, just to get this happiness inside of my brain, I would probably spend like $30 to $100 just going to a bar, or just to, you know, get that buzz on. And why not do the healthier thing by going on the ride? So that's kind of my philosophy behind all this. For those who ride a motorcycle, why don't you let me know in the comments below on whether or not you insure your motorcycle all year long, and if you benefit from that, or maybe you're the type of person who don't want to ride in the cold and don't insure it over the winter. Let me know your thoughts as well. With that said, ride safe, ride prepared, ride on. Peace.